Sunday morning. Good to see you all here. Father Moon on the microphone again. Today, what are we going to do today? I can tell you one thing we're going to do today, which is cheat. That's right. You can all see patch 19 from our stream before on the screen right now. This one is called C64. Because it was supposed to make some Game Boy sounds, though it doesn't sound very Game Boy right now. Whatever, it's fine. The name is just a name. But yeah, I brought it up because I want to steal most of the sequencing and clocking that's going on here. I think I'm going to steal it and then I'll just reanalyze it before I move on. So here we go. Okay, and there it is. It's all yellow cables, so it's, well, let's just go through it again. So, what did I do here? I wanted to create two sequencers for two instruments, and I also wanted, for two voices, I guess I should say. And I also wanted those two sequences to run in series. So for example, here we have they're all labeled note sequencer A, but the top left one receives the clock from MIDI Global, which has been divided up in clock div fix. And it does not receive a reset signal. And it has this output here called link, which is a yellow signal, logic signal out. And link is going into reset of this sequencer. Also, although this one is on a loop, it has 32 steps, which really means it plays 16 steps. It tells this guy, okay, it's your turn. And then it waits another 16 steps before it starts again. And while it's waiting, of course, this guy who was told it was his turn is playing through his 16 steps. And he's not set up to loop because we don't want him to hit the end of the 16 steps and play them again. We want him to wait until he gets a reset input. And then the output of these two sequencers will need to go into the pitch input of one oscillator. And then the exact same thing is happening down here on these two channels. And in fact, these event sequencers, you can also see a connection between link and reset. You can also see this one is on loop and 32. This one is on not loop and 16. So they're pretty much doing the exact same thing the note sequences are doing. And they will send their logic outputs here, which will have to go into envelope inputs. So that's pretty neat, pretty interesting. Again, I built this one right out of the book, out of the manual. So instead of using this guy, LFO clock generator, which people have seen me create many times, this one creates a little clock inside the synth, which you can, set the rate of and set the outputs. But the manual suggested I use MIDI Global, for which we have to look in here in synth settings. You can see there's a MIDI clock area which has an internal and an external clock. And I'm going to take this, it's already down pretty low at 75. I'm going to take him all the way down to 62 BPM for this track just because I want to. And I might even take him lower later, but let's start with this for now. So yeah, I wanted to make something melodic today. I I'm just going to clear the data out that was entered in the previous sequences without destroying any of my connections. The little clear button is very useful. And let's go and set up a couple of voices for these to play. I did say I was cheating, and one of the reasons I am cheating is because I want to do something musical, and I want to do something which is aimed at building an album or a short EP. Still haven't decided that yet, based on the stuff we've done here. And I think I've come to a conclusion. I didn't get a lot of user feedback. That's okay. I can live with that. But the conclusion that I came to was that I'm going to do it as a walkthrough. What I'm going to do in a future session is load up a patch like this one and connect the recording output, and then I'm going to twiddle the knobs in real time and record that output, which will then be used to make the album. So if you're interested in learning how I did things, which is mostly what this stream is about, this should be able to explain it. And hopefully another advantage of that will be, although I won't have a voiceover of me talking into a mic like I'm doing right now, because I need the audio signal to be clean that I record, because I'm going to use it for music. What I am thinking of doing is adding the voiceover afterwards, probably using text-to-speech, because that's convenient for me. So anyway, that's all coming in the future, so hang on to your hats or possibly pants, whatever you want to hang on to. Okay, so let's build the voices here. I'm going to build a pretty normal voice up here at the top. My melodic voice, or more dominant, higher pitched voice, is going to be a sawtooth into the classic LP filter. I'm going to need my... I've already used up a lot of rail estate here. So let's put the outputs down here today. And I'm going to put, I don't know if we'll get up to 8, but I'm going to put an 8 inputs mixer on it and wire that up. I will say I'm going for more of a analog synth sound today and less of a digital Game Boy sound, if that helps people wrap their heads around things. So there we go. That's a very typical voice. The sawtooth, of course, is probably the most commonly used subtractive synth wave. I mean, all four get used. I would say sine is the least common and saw is the most, with pulse wave coming in second probably. Triangle being better for bass lines. In fact, that is what we're going to be using it for today. Let's give him a different filter. Let's give him this one. Do we even need that? Let's look at that for resources purposes. We have the multi-mode filter. Classic is using less than that. So let's just use Classic again, because honestly, they're both going to be in low-pass filter mode. Maybe that sounds lazy, but that's not what I'm going for. Maybe I'll give this guy 18 dB just to open it up a bit and keep this guy in 24. I don't think they need to complex envelope today, so let's give him something normal and patch the audio connections. Patch voice 2 into our mixer. I guess you can probably guess there's going to be some drums going in here as well. Let's do the pitch connections. Let's start. We have the event sequencers up top, so let's... Oh, I remember this. One of the things I didn't copy from the previous patch, because I couldn't remember what I'd used it for, was the logic processor. So this time I've moved them up to where I'm actually using them so that hopefully I'll be able to see in the future what my plan was. And my plan is, of course, to use them as an OR gate, meaning either one will let the signal through, but they won't really be stepping on each other's toes because of the ways the sequencers have been set up. Patch this into number 1. Should be getting sound soon. Oh, I don't have any of the steps pushed down. Okay. Am I getting a very quiet signal? Yes, I am. Yeah, the filter was way down. Okay, that's fine. At least we can hear stuff now, and we know the system is working properly. Let's put this one in here. This one in here. And into the gate. I'm going to open this up a bit too. And I'm going to give this guy some steps as well. That's the triangle wave is joining us. Let's drop him down an octave. Talk about the actual note composition part too much of this. Of course, the way the sequencing is set up, we divorce the triggering of the gate from the notes. So then we got to go back and say, well, if you're going to play a note here, what tone is it going to be? What note is it going to be in the scale? So I'm going to start with the bass line here, which is the second channel playing the triangle wave, and as boring as it may be, it's gonna have a bunch of octaves in it, which is pretty par for the course. My Berlin school stuff is often based on this, and we didn't get any sound. Why? Well, we didn't get any change in the sound because I haven't patched my sequencer outputs into the pitch inputs. That was a silly mistake. There you go. Luckily, these have 2 pitch inputs, so I don't have to combine the signals in a mixer, but of course I could have. I was thinking of using a variation on the quote-unquote Jerome idea to modify these in real time. Let's set up the normal parameters first before we get into anything too wacky. Keep this mostly in a minor key. Looks I haven't turned this pitch knob up, so there's my first couple different notes. Drop down an octave, and I'm going to repeat the melodic figure that I created, which is a very simple one. There we go. Hold on, we're not quite there yet. So the figure that I'm talking about. And I gave it an octave, a double octave down. 24 down is do something almost reggae-like and put a minus 24 octave on the 9 of each beat here. Wow, you felt that one. I did anyway. Let's give him that. There it is. It almost sounds like a kick drum. That's pretty cool. I'm going to set up that note by putting one right before him. Cool. Sounds cool to me. Want a high-pitched note near the end of this. Do, 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 do. It might be on 12. Okay. You could also say that what I'm trying to hear in my head is not just the lovely built-in reverb that my sound card is giving me, but also the assumed rhythmic echo, clocked delay that these sequences will also be going into. So let's fall back on another old trick here. To see these ones coming, I hope. Feed our clock to our clocked random step generators and feed that into our filter inputs to get even more rhythmic flavor out of this. Yep, that's good stuff. This is just what the Nord Modular does well. Ain't no two ways about it. I put in that triangle wave. I want to at least experiment with wrong LFO again. I want to at least experiment with switching the bass line to a square wave and then giving it a pulse width modulation. So let's plug that in. Set the sine wave to nice and slow. Sine wave just works so darn good for this, I don't want to mess it up. It's good, but did we lose some of the... I just want to turn this up a little bit. Here we go. There's such a zero on the one, such a drop, because it doesn't have that low note there. But I think it's a good thing. I'm thinking of dropping in another oscillator. Could just use this and just slaving him to. No, I can't slave him to that. He's not a. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, whatever. I'll use oscillator B instead. Because this one at least has the two patch inputs. And the crazy thing is, this guy is set to just move that cable. This guy is 1 octave down, but of course he plays some notes which are really low. This guy is going to be 2 octaves down. When he plays some of the really low notes, that's going to drop a real bomb into the inputs. So I'm just going to feed him the same thing the second voice is getting. And I don't think I'm going to bother with filtering because he's a sine wave. I'm going to give him the same envelope. We haven't messed with the envelope settings yet. He'll take the same gate. And then I think we're just going to drop his level to start and then fade him in. So if you have good speakers, I hope this sounds cool. Couldn't hear much of a difference, really. I knew that wouldn't work. I just experimented a little bit there. Oh, I know what I should have been doing. This guy should be back in square. Wow. So let me just explain a little bit of what I did there. Top voice is a sawtooth. That's good for high-pitched melodic stuff. And the bass line is 2 waves. The first one, the higher pitched one, is a square wave, getting his pulse width swept to give him more variation in the sound. The second one is just a sine wave playing the same notes but an octave lower, and then faded in on the mixer with the same gate and envelope settings exactly. So what this really does is, let's just mute this voice. Let's mute the sine wave. Let's listen to the difference. That's the bass line with the square wave. Now I'm going to drop in the sine an octave lower. There's a big beefiness to the sound that the sine wave is adding back in. When I remove it, this sounds a lot thinner. I don't know if you can hear that, but I can hear it, and I just have some cheap Sony headphones on. So pretty big jump in processor power usage just to optimize this bass line, but I think it's totally worth it. Let's put this guy up here. Again, this LFO is modifying this parameter. That's going to keep them close by each other. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Now let's drop this guy back in again on melody. Cool. Sounds rad. Let's do some drums, baby. Well, the drum gods have seen fit to let me have 3 voices. I never would ask for more than that. Oh, but I have very little processing power left. Luckily, we got these 2 blank sequencer channels, so we can do something interesting there. So let's drop in 1 clock pattern generator. Oh shoot, this is going to go over, isn't it? Over. Damn it. So what can we cut? There's like nothing left to cut. I can cut this and duplicate this parameter to here, but as you can see, it's still not enough. How sad. Oh, I know what to do. So I brought this guy in because I was thinking of using oscillator sync, but we seem to be getting along fine without that. So let's kill this as an oscillator and use oscillator B again instead of oscillator A. Now you can see we're at 97%, but we're still functioning. So rewire this, send the pitches inputs. That's unchanged. Set him to sawtooth and wire him in. There we go. We're back in business. I want to overwhelm the whole thing. Still got to let the main voice speak a bit here. But now we got enough processing power to run things. So let's plug in the drum setup. Now I'm inclined to use kick, snare, and hi-hat as you typically would. Before I do that, I'm going to at least experiment with percussion settings instead. So let's try that. Oh, we do have some nice, maybe 3 different toms. I wonder if we can get away with that and still make something cool. We've got the wrong numbers in the wrong places, but I don't care. They're all set to tom 3 for now. Let's trigger this one from here, and trigger this one from here, and trigger this one randomly. Already starting. Randomize the pattern with the 1 remaining clocked random step generator. And plug in some steps for the other toms to get their chance to shine. Semi-randomly dropping stuff in, but I'll fix it later. It's not the greatest pattern. Let's experiment with tom sounds. Let's go back to tom. Oops, went too far. It's tom 3. I got everything backwards. Let's try tom 1. Not what I was looking for. I don't think this tom is what I need. This is the old like 80s style tom. I don't think that's it either. Let's dive into the world of percussion and see what we get. Kind of liking that. Which one is which here? Let's mute 2 of them. Okay, so the high-pitched note guy is perk 2. Certainly I've been using him in some previous compositions. Oh, I know what I did wrong here. I plugged in one output here, but I forgot that I need logic processors to combine those voices. So let me rewire things a bit here. This has to go into this, and then this has to go into this, set it to OR, plug it in here. There we go. Okay, good. Same thing with this guy. He needs to go into there, and into there, and into here. But he's muted. Let's unmute him. Well, that is cool, and I like that sound. I like the two little congas just sort of jamming out there. I almost wonder, what if I did this? This might be crazy. Instead of clocking the pattern gen to the normal one, why don't I clock it to triplet eighths? Bit too crazy. What about just this one? Sometimes I'm getting the two little fake congas hitting on the same beat. Anyway, I think I'm gonna save this one as it is now, and I might go back and adjust the drums for the final version. But I'm pretty happy with the melodies we came up with here today. The sounds, bass line, everything. It's pretty cool. If I had a little more processing power, I might mess with the velocities of the drums. But let's save this one for today. I'm going to continue with my Berlin naming scheme and call this one Berlin Wall. It's boring, it's a cliche, but it'll remind me later of the fact that it's a Berlin style. Berlin school patch. Berlin school meaning, in this case, the way I use those sequencers to build the melody. Patch 58. Great. Hope you've enjoyed the stream. It's kind of a long one, but I think we got to a cool place in the end. Come back for another stream, probably 24 hours from this one. See you Sunday. Peace.